So, good morning, everybody. Hey, we are all online today, and I'm going to provide you the information that you need to take a look at supply. Now, again, last week we took a look at demand. We worked on graphing the demand curve. Today we're going to look at supply. We're going to look at graphing the supply curve. So, I want you folks to pay attention. We'll get into this in just a moment, but let's get into our discussion, okay? All right, so profits and the law of supply. So the law of supply states this. It's an economic rule stating that the price and quantity of supply move in the same direction. Okay, remember, price and demand move in opposite directions. Supply is going to move in the same direction. Okay, so quantity supplied, this is the amount of a good or a service that a producer is willing and able to supply at a specific price. Remember, profit incentive is there, and it's something that we all look at as entrepreneurs. They all look at it and try to make more money. So the profit incentive is one of the factors that motivates people in a market economy. In the case of supply, the higher the price of a good, the greater the incentive is for a producer to produce more and more. Okay? Now, again, good little diagram here in the notes. Again, the law of supply. The law of supply refers to the relationship between price and the quantity of a good or service, and firms are going to basically agree upon and produce. The higher the price of the product leads to more supplies and more companies making the product. So this is why you see companies, raising prices a little bit. So as price increases, again, quantity supply increases. If price falls, then the quantity supplied is going to fall. Okay? So the supply curve. Now a supply schedule, it's going to be a table that's going to show quantity supplied at different possible prices. I'm going to pull that up here in just a moment. An example. So again, at a price of $10 per DVD, a little old school DVDs, well, those still exist, only 100 million DVDs will be made. At $15 per DVD, you can make 600 million DVDs. So notice, increase in price, increase in the amount supplied. Okay? Now the supply curve, again, is an upward sloping line that shows in graph form the quantity supplied at each possible price. So let's take a look at the schedule, and let's take a look at the curve here. Okay, so it's diagrammed there. I'm going to diagram it here. Hopefully find a good marker. I usually have my blue. Let's see if this one works. Oh, that's not so good. Okay, hang tight. And that just fell. Of course, I'm live. There we go. There's a better marker. Okay, so we have a price here. We're going to have quantity supplied down on the x-axis now. Okay? So if we look at our little schedule, all right, so we'll say price, we'll say quantity supplied. This time, again, you're going to see a difference. So, again, if it's free, nothing's produced. Okay? If we go up to $2, hey, supply 2. If we go up to 4, we got a supply of 4. 6 and 6, 8 and 8, 10 and 10. So, again, that is kind of our schedule here. Now, if I go onto the chart, okay, again, got 0 here, got $2, got 4, okay, got 6, up to 8, up to 10, okay. All right, so you have price here. Now, quantity supplied, we've got 2, we've got 4, we've got 6, we've got 8, we've got 10. So this time, remember, demand, downward, D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, okay? So we have that downward sloping line. Now, opposite, okay, with supply, we're going up, okay? So at $2, all right, we can start here. $4 will go to 4 supplied, 6 and 6, 8 and 8, 10 and 10. So we have an upward sloping line, okay? That's what we're looking at here. Now, there are going to be some determinants that are going to impact supply. So let's go over these real quick. So we have something called price of inputs, okay? So this is essentially goods that go into other goods, okay? If the price of an input is needed to make a product, raw materials, wages, a producer can supply more at a lower production cost. So an example, again, microchips were cheap to add into computers in the 1980s. This allowed for more of a supply. If the microchips became very expensive, then suppliers would have high production costs, leading to a lower supply. So let's say this. So if we're looking at chocolate bar, okay, and the cost of sugar is really low, then you can have a high supply of that chocolate bar. Okay, so real quick, what I want to show is what a shift looks like. So let me do that real quick. So with our first determinant, again, price of input, we'll say sugar. Okay, we have that upward sloping line. Okay, always upward on this. Okay, so a lot of folks are having a hard time drawing these graphs. Again, it's either upward sloping line or a downward sloping line. You got to determine which one it is. Okay, so we have, again, our supply here, and this is, again, not a very good marker. There we go, a little bit more detailed. Now, increase in supply, shift right. It's actually going to look like this. We're going to take this line, and we're going to shift it to the right. Okay, we're going to shift it to the right. So we'll take our arrows, and we'll shift right like that. Okay, if, say, the cost of sugar is cheap in that instance. If it becomes incredibly pricey, the price of input impacts. Now we're going to see a decrease in supply, so we're going to move it to the left. So we have our supply line here. We have a decrease now. We're going to go up and to the left. All right, shift up and to the left. So we'll have our arrows here, and when you have your practice today, that's how you're going to indicate it. Okay? All right, so we also have number of firms. If other suppliers enter the market, this will lead to a spike in supply, as you can imagine. So if you have, 3 burger joints, and all of a sudden you have a 4th burger joint, the overall supply of burgers in the town is going to go up. So my example in the notes, if another pizza store is added to Dexter, there will be more overall pizza supply to the town. If a pizza store closes, there will be less supply. Okay, there are some towns that don't have a pizza place, and they have a low supply of pizza, which would be really sad. Okay. Now, taxes. Taxes come in as a determinant of supply. There are 4. This is our third one. So if taxes are imposed on the production of a certain good, example, if there's a tax on rubber for tires, then that will decrease the overall supply. If taxes are cut, it will allow a larger amount to be supplied. So if taxes are removed or cut, hey, you can supply more. But if the taxes are levied on, it makes it more difficult. Now, technology is interesting. This is our last one. If new science and technology is designed to produce at a faster rate, this will increase the rate of supply. If a factory has a machine break down, then the supply will decrease. So sometimes, again, high efficient factories, they're able to churn things out. Things are going well. You have a much better chance to have a high supply. If all of a sudden you have technical problems, if a fire happens, there are other factors that impact the ability to produce more, then that's going to negatively impact the supply, and the supply would decrease. Okay? All right, so we do have a law. All right, so we have a law here called the law of diminishing returns. All right, this is an economic rule, states that as more units of a factor of production are added to other factors of production, after some point, total output continues to increase, but at a diminishing rate. So, an example, a restaurant has to make cuts at the 6 p.m. shift because there are too many workers and not enough customers. So this happens all the time. Some of you folks might already experience it if you have a job. When I was at Wendy's in college, I'll never forget, we would have like a lunch rush. We'd have an anticipated amount of money that would be coming in. And if we didn't meet that and we had 10 workers, well, all right, 3, 4 of you got to go, okay, to save on costs. Because if you have too many cooks in the kitchen, if you got too many people working in there, your total output, the productivity, it just doesn't work, okay? So there's a really good little chart here, all right, that explains, okay? So again, marginal productive labor, number of employees, okay, you got, basically 0 to 10, all right, total output per hour, all right, and the marginal product of labor. So as you look at that chart, over time, all right, the output is actually going to decrease, all right? You got too many employees, you have to make decisions, and sometimes that's tough, okay? All right, so this is our discussion on supply. We're going to have some practice problems. Remember, upward sloping, okay, we're shifting to the left or we're shifting to the right, okay? And what we'll do is we're going to have supply and demand meet in the middle with equilibrium, and that'll be our 4th and final discussion, which will be next week. All right, thank you so much, folks. Have a great day. I will see you next time.